Good evening. For my information process lesson 1, I decided to do an alternative PowerPoint with a voiceover. I thought this was the best model to actively reflect upon the lesson. The model that I chose for this first lesson was an inductive model because it fits very well with my teaching style and the time that I had available. This week was not optimum for me to be teaching a lesson because I had to do some changes to my original planning due to some weather events. We only had school 2 days this week, Tuesday and Friday. I had planned this lesson for Wednesday, so I got pushed back to Friday, but the kids were gone and it just made things a little bit more challenging. With that being said, I did select my 8th grade science enrichment class for this lesson. We are an 8-12 high school in rural Michigan. We're in a very high poverty area. Most of our students live below the poverty line. This is an 8th grade elective, meaning I see these kids for 9 weeks at a time, and they rotate through, and at some point throughout the year, I will see all 8th graders. The purpose of this course is to help bridge the gap between their 8th grade science class and their freshman biology course. And it also serves to help get them excited about science and careers within science as they move forward. It's a relatively large class. I have 32 students with a wide range of abilities. We have a high special ed population within our school. And in this class, I actually have 4 students on the autism spectrum and 1 physically disabled student that uses crutches to walk. This lesson falls within their weekly engineering challenges. So to help students become engaged with the material, every Friday we do a weekly engineering challenge, and it differs from course to course and week to week on what they're asked to do. This lesson specifically was using the guided discovery model. Students were challenged to complete an engineering task. This one was specifically aluminum foil boats, like you can see in the picture. Students were working in pairs. They were given a certain amount of aluminum foil, and they were tasked to create a boat to hold the most weight possible. They used trial and error to self-evaluate before they had to present their final design. Then they had to present their final design where it was evaluated against their peers' boats, and then they determined which boat was most effective and why. And then following the actual building and testing, we had a class discussion about what model was most effective, what did we see, what did we experience as they were going through this. The lesson went as planned. It was slightly more chaotic than I would have liked, simply because of schedule changes and missed school days and it being a Friday and the kids not having been in class. But everything went as it should have. For future lessons, I was thinking I would like to incorporate more of a written reflection piece, getting the students to think more intuitively and more interpersonally on how they personally thought the lesson went and how they would change their building and change their overall design and their effectiveness in the challenge. The impact that this model will have on my teaching is I really like how it makes students responsible for their learning, and it changes it from a teacher-centered approach to a learner-centered approach. Some future changes, I would continue to use this model in all of my different classes, but I really plan to teach that original lesson that I had planned, which was for my 10th grade environmental science class, where they would be looking at some data and evaluating it in terms of global climate shift. But overall, I feel like this lesson was successful in using an inductive teaching method, and that I would like to mess around with a little bit more in the future to help my students become critical thinkers and help build some structure in my classroom. I did use the National Science Teaching Association, some information from there discussing different models of intuitive thinking and teaching, and then I had a couple different photos I included as well.